Namaskar, you're watching special broadcast on DD India, India-Sweden Partners in Innovation. I'm Sakal Bhatt. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be landing in Sweden in a short while from now. His visit to Sweden builds on India's strategic and innovation partnership with his key Nordic and EU technology leader. This visit will review progress since the landmark 2018 visit, which deepened cooperation in clean technology, artificial intelligence, defense and sustainable industry. It is also expected to advance new areas of cooperation, including an AI corridor and also post-EU FTA economic linkages. We continue to track Prime Minister Modi's Sweden visit, the third leg of Prime Minister's five-nation tour, and also get you some live reportage with DD India's Shama Mishra. So let's begin. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrapped his visit to Netherlands with 17 wide-ranging outcomes and elevation of ties to a strategic partnership, taking to Platform X, Prime Minister wrote, and I quote, "From elevating our relationship to a strategic partnership to expanding cooperation in water resources, semiconductors, innovation, defense, sustainability and mobility, we have charted an ambitious roadmap for the future. I express my gratitude to Prime Minister Rob Yetten for the warm hospitality and for personally coming to the airport to bid farewell. I am confident that the friendship between India and Netherlands will continue to grow stronger in the years to come." Unquote. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just shared the highlights of his Netherlands visit, which he says has added new momentum to India-Netherlands ties. Let's take a look at these highlights.
इतना प्यार, इतना उत्साह, सच कहूं कुछ देर के लिए मैं भूल ही गया था कि मैं नीदरलैंड में हूं। नीदरलैंड को ट्यूलिप के लिए जाना जाता है, वैसे ही भारत लोटस यानी कमल के लिए जाना जाता है। ट्यूलिप और कमल दोनों फूल हमें बताते हैं कि जड़ें चाहे पानी में हो या धरती पर, अगर सही पोषण मिले तो सुंदरता भी मिलती है और स्ट्रेंथ भी आ जाती है। यही भारत और नीदरलैंड के बीच पार्टनरशिप का भी आधार है।
पिछले एक दशक में भारत नीदरलैंड पार्टनरशिप ने उल्लेखनीय प्रगति की है। हम नीदरलैंड को भारत के सबसे महत्वपूर्ण पार्टनर में से मानते हैं। इसी साझा दृष्टि के साथ आज हम भारत नीदरलैंड संबंधों को स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप के स्तर पर ले जा रहे हैं।
आज आप सभी की बातों में भारत के प्रति ऑप्टिमिज्म साफ दिखाई दे रहा है। इस ऑप्टिमिज्म को आउटकम में बदलना, ये हमारी गारंटी है। वर्ष 2026 से भारत और यूरोप संबंधों में एक नए गोल्डन एरा की शुरुआत हुई है। द फ्यूचर ऑफ इंडिया नीदरलैंड पार्टनरशिप इज ब्राइटर देन एवर बिफोर।
And as we speak, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is en route to Sweden, which is the third leg of his five-nation visit, marking a very important milestone in steadily deepening India-Sweden partnership. Now, this visit comes at a time when both countries are looking to expand cooperation across key areas, including innovation, green technology, defense, and emerging digital industries. Here's a report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in Sweden on Sunday on his second visit at a time when India and Sweden are looking to deepen their collaboration in innovation, clean energy and green technology. This visit will add fresh momentum to the already growing partnership between the two nations.
This will be Prime Minister Narendra Modi's second visit to Sweden after his earlier trip in 2018, reflecting the growing continuity and momentum in bilateral relations. Over the years, the partnership has evolved beyond traditional diplomacy into a broader engagement driven by technology, sustainability, investment, and mutual trust.
This is the second visit by Honorable Prime Minister, as you have rightly observed, after 2018. It is it's a moment of great pride for all of us that he has chosen to visit Sweden amongst his very heavy schedule. For the change, he is visiting Gothenburg, so this would be his first visit to Gothenburg. Prime Minister is looking forward to having discussions with Swedish leadership, in particular Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson and his team on issues of bilateral, international and geopolitical importance.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold high-level talks with Swedish leadership, where discussions are expected to cover trade and investment opportunities, strengthening economic ties and encouraging greater participation of Swedish companies in India's rapidly growing market. Business and industry engagements will be a central part of the visit. Sweden, globally recognized for its leadership in innovation, clean energy solutions and sustainable development models, remains a key partner for India as it pursues its own growth and climate goals. The two sides are likely to focus on expanding collaboration in areas such as artificial intelligence, clean energy, semiconductors, mobility and digital infrastructure.
Honorable Prime Minister will also have interaction with business community. He will be having engagement with prominent Swedish CEOs of companies that have operations in India and who wishes to increase their operations. He will also be interacting with the members of European Roundtable of Industry. This European Roundtable is a group of 60 top companies of Europe. So they are all coming together and Prime Minister will be engaging with the CEOs. Where this meeting becomes important is because of the background of India-EU Free Trade Agreement, India-EFTA Agreement and in India-UK Agreement.
Defense and security cooperation, which has seen growing momentum in recent years, will also feature in the discussions, highlighting the expanding scope of the relationship. Indians living in Sweden are enthusiastic about Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit, seeing it as a moment of pride and renewed connection with India.
We are very excited to see Narendra Modi sir here, and we are planning to visit where he stays and wave, and we are very delighted, and it's a great thing for us also for working here in Sweden, and we hope like how the India has flourished under his leadership. We will have better relationship between India and Sweden, and it will flourish equally.
The visit will also highlight the strong people-to-people connect between India and Sweden.
From sustainability and smart cities to defense and digital innovation, this visit is set to focus on the future of India and Sweden ties. This will also add a fresh momentum because both countries are looking for a stronger collaboration on the economic front as well as the technological front. With camera person Radhe Krishna, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Gothenburg, Sweden.
And let's go across to Ambassador Gurjeet Singh, former senior diplomat. He joins us on this special broadcast to discuss and analyze the significance of this visit, the tangible expected outcomes, the deliverables and the overall optics. Thank you very much, Ambassador Singh. To begin with, if you could just simplify the broader impact of this visit to Sweden being the third stopover, India's broader engagement with Europe, coming close on the heels to Netherlands, especially when we are looking at stronger India-Nordic and India-EU positioning in the current context. Sir, your opening remarks.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure is ours, sir.
India-Europe relationship has boomed in the last few years, and now that the India-EU FTA is signed, there is the India-EU defense partnership, and there is, of course, already a climate partnership, a green hydrogen partnership, and many partnerships between India and EU. So as you saw in the 17 outcomes of PM's visit to the Netherlands, similarly, I think you will see in Sweden that much of the European agenda is being fulfilled by its member states like Netherlands, and now you see Sweden. So I think you will see more of green energy corridors, you will see about defense, you will see about innovation. Now with Sweden, there is the innovation partnership announced 2 years ago. So that is the crux of the India-Sweden partnership. I want to mention here that our Prime Minister is not going to Stockholm, the capital of Sweden. He is going to Gothenburg on his first visit. Now, in Gothenburg, what is happening is the European businessmen's event is happening there, a big European business event, at which Prime Minister is a special guest to speak, and also the EU leader, Ursula von der Leyen, is going to speak. So this is an opportunity for PM to address European CEOs all together in one place.
The fact that Sweden has been a consistent partner in technology and sustainability, they also in fact hosted the first India Nordic Summit in 2018. From that perspective, how significant is this visit? Yes, we are looking at some tangible MOUs also. We'll try and put that also in perspective. But the consistency with which we have partnered or aligned with Sweden in the last few years, especially post-summit, Nordic Summit.
So the interesting thing is that Sweden hosted the first India Nordic Summit in 2018. Now, all the 5 Nordic leaders who were there in 2018 are not in power now. So PM Modi, when he meets them for the 3rd Nordic Summit in Norway tomorrow, I think, he will meet 5 new people. But he knows most of them because he has met them separately. I mean, he has met the Swedish Prime Minister in other locations, and I think the Danish Prime Minister is well known to him. So like that, but the point is there has been continuous change in Europe, whereas India has shown political consistency in leadership. So that gives us the opportunity to have continuity in implementation. Now, you have so many agreements, partnerships, whether under the EU rubric or under the India-Sweden rubric, particularly the innovation partnership, the focus always now is on implementation. Even in the case of Netherlands, if you see, there was an announcement that now India and Netherlands will have a strategic partnership. But then you see that they have actually got a 5-year roadmap on how that strategic partnership will be implemented.
In 17 broader areas.
Yes, I mean, we are looking at implementation of the agreements that we are saying. So I think we are going to be looking at...
Okay. Yes, Ambassador Gurjeet, I'm so sorry. I'll just interrupt you here for 5 minutes because we need to get a quick live report from DD India's Sharma Mishra, our senior correspondent who's been tracking Prime Minister's Sweden visit. And I think, Sharma, if you can go full frame on those visuals, there is already lineup of the diaspora, the colors of India, the vibrant culture of India there in display, Indian tricolors. Well, that's something which we get to see every time when Prime Minister Modi lands on a foreign soil. Over to you.
Well, Sakal, that's because, you know, there are people, there is Indian diaspora everywhere, all across the globe. And once they get to know that their Prime Minister is coming, everybody is really excited. And I will just show you those colorful visuals of the people who are here. And they've been waiting with bated breath to see the Prime Minister. And if you see, they also have their tricolor, also have the Swedish flag with various other paintings, portraits, drawings, various other work of art, and they just want to showcase their work to our Prime Minister, and it's one of the most, I could say, exciting things for them that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is coming over here so far, and when they are living over here, there's so many people who have already gotten Swedish citizenship. We met some people who are working over here since 20 years, since 22 years, since 7 years, 10 years, and there are so many people who have already gotten their Swedish citizenship. But that feeling when, you know, the head of the family comes to visit you, that's always something which people look forward to, and I could say that this is one particular moment where these would be, the Indian diaspora would be looking forward to that. We also have, you know, across this place, there are Swedish students who would be performing Bharatnatyam, and they would be performing Shiv Tandavam. So you can understand how much these people are into the Indian aspects, Indian features.
Right.
There's also one lady who would be singing the Indian bhajan. There are other musical group. There is one group which is a combination of Indian students as well as the Swedish students, and they would be performing for Prime Minister. They would be greeting and welcoming Prime Minister. Once again, I'll show you the visuals of these people, and they are all, you know, dressed in their best, saris, dhotis, salwar kurta, everything is out, and this is, many of them have welcomed Prime Minister when we were speaking to them earlier in Swedish language, in Svenska, and everybody is really excited. Many of them over here, they've been learning Hindi as well, who are from the Swedish side, and we've also spoken to one lady. You must have also seen that report, where the Swedish lady, she is the president of Ayurveda Sweden Association. So India is not something new over here, or the Indian features, Indian aspects are not something new over here. And when this door opens, this particular door opens, Prime Minister will come from here. And everybody, you can see, they have lined up to welcome our Prime Minister, welcome Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, and they would be wanting to speak, you know, one-on-one. They would be wanting to share their stories,
get his attention.
And it's a fun fact over here that there are so many people who have been, you know, from Bengali Association, from some of the other associations, and they've been doing a lot of things to highlight the Indian culture. It's also amazing that when Prime Minister comes to such events, to, you know, to other countries, he does make sure that that he meets these people and get to know a little stories, a little backgrounders. And when these people offer their artwork, Prime Minister does take their artwork and, you know, shows the Prime Minister does you know, appreciates their effort. So all in all, we are all excited. The Indian diaspora is waiting with bated breath to welcome Prime Minister.
We'll leave it there as of now. Thank you, Shama, for that quick live report. Excitement and sentiment palpable there on ground, Indian diaspora, and also we could spot some Swedish nationals waving Swedish flags as well. Shama, thank you as of now, but of course we will come to you in a bit. Thank you for joining us as of now, live from Gothenburg, in DD India's Shama Mishra. And as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is en route to Gothenburg, that is in Sweden, Ministry of External Affairs, has shared some of the highlights of the warm and long-standing India-Sweden ties. Take a look. So that's India and Sweden for you in nutshell in terms of areas where the two nations have been aligning or perhaps have aligned, and those alignment areas are going to consolidate further with this particular visit of Prime Minister Modi. Isn't it, Ambassador Gurjeet Singh, if you could just put that video in perspective, tweeted by MEA, almost all sectors, especially the innovation part in space, technology, etc. And having said that, this broader engagement with Europe, India's engagement with Europe and in particular Sweden. We talked about Netherlands earlier, that being the next gateway to European Union after Brexit. But what about Sweden and our engagement with them? The more momentum.
I think that was a fine video, and it encapsulated very quickly what is happening between India and Sweden. Now, Sweden is actually far away, so it doesn't figure in the Indian consciousness so often. But once you see the kind of companies from Sweden which are here, IKEA, H&M and others, then you realize that how many Indians consumers have these companies in their lives already. And therefore, I think the rising tide of Swedish investment is something that we need to look at. As you are showing me now, the trade at 7.75 billion is not something to write home about, but it is much bigger than it was a few years ago. And I'm sure as more cross investments come, there would be more trade. Similarly, this defense and security cooperation is very important because Saab is now investing in Haryana under the 100% FDI route, and they are going to produce the Carl Gustav rockets, which India has been importing from Sweden for many years and are found to be very effective. So I think this is a very important defense partnership in real terms. I think similarly on innovation, there are many things, but I think since you are showing me ISRO now,
yes,
you know, Sweden orbiter mission. There's a technology partnership over there. So if already from what I have told you and what you are showing, for a small country and a distant country like Sweden, there is so much happening with India. So I think this is very creditable. So it is not an unimportant country. And now that it is, besides being part of the EU, it is also joined NATO in 2023. And therefore it is really part of the European vision. And whatever we are doing with Europe after the FTA was signed, we can do much more with Sweden. And they have a very active group of people who are promoting trade with India. I met them a couple of occasions.
Okay.
And they are really... Now, this European Roundtable for Industry, I think perhaps the real reason why the Prime Minister is going to Gothenburg, because this is a very important opportunity to talk to leading European business leaders from all over Europe. And I think this will be his first major address to them in Europe ever since the India-EU FTA came into effect in January. So I think this is a visit to expand partnership with and use the occasion to bring this to the attention of European business leaders as a...
So what all are we leveraging here? Because getting the attention of business leaders of European Union, that's the big picture. The buck doesn't stop really with Sweden. This particular, besides UAE, the four nations that Prime Minister is going to be visiting, Netherlands is just wrapped up. The broader engagement, what is the larger message that goes across?
So the European Roundtable that we are talking about, interestingly, it is not only the European Union leaders of business who will be there. It is also people from EFTA, with whom also India has an FTA, and from UK, with whom also India has an FTA. So this is really Europe-wide, not EU-wide only. And that, I think, makes this platform even more important, because all the CEOs there come from countries with whom India has got FTAs now in place. I think this is the main thing, how to get more investment into India's growth story, how to make India a technology partner, and how not only to have products sold in India or assembled in India, but to have more, products which are jointly developed and co-produced in India. I think that is the thrust. And in this, the emphasis on innovation,
Innovation, artificial
economy,
intelligence, AI.
and climate and green hydrogen are important because the Nordic countries are very strong on all these. And
Okay.
if you get them attracted, I think we can do much, much more.
Okay, and I think we already have them attracted. Their interest in India, especially under the current ruling dispensation, is pretty much visible. Looking at the continuity of the India-Sweden ties post Prime Minister Modi's 2018 Sweden visits. I was just looking at some research papers, the kind of mechanisms, and in fact, by the way, that particular visit was first after 30 years. And after that, there's a certain energizing of the ties when you have these mechanisms and signing of MOUs, etc. And now, of course, this. Ambassador Gurjeet, please stay with us. We also need to just dip in and take a look at some more reactions, and then we will continue our discussion with you, sir. So as Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Sweden for the second time, like I just mentioned, the earlier one was in 2018. The ambassador of India to Sweden, during an exclusive interaction with DD India's Shyama Mishra, highlighted the growing partnership between the two countries based on shared values and a common vision for a better world.
India and Sweden partnership stands on their own, and regardless of the geopolitics and whatever conflicts there are. Honorable Prime Minister visited in 2018, and that brought a very new dimension to our partnership. We share common values, we share common vision of a very green world, very climate friendly world. So all in all, I think a lot of our policy program that we have carved together is to make the world a better place. To give you an example, in 2019, Honorable Prime Minister, together with Swedish Prime Minister, launched a program called Leadership in Industry Transition, LEAD IT for short. Prior to that, the climate and decarbonization debate was largely based on emissions and emission intensity. What LEAD IT did was to create a new platform, an international platform, where entire industry decarbonization is addressed, including those industries which are very difficult to transition into. For example, cement, steel. So we have taken, this initiative has taken giant step in terms of green steel, in terms of creating cement technologies which are decarbonized, energy saving, and so forth. And this initiative was so successful that Honorable Prime Minister, together with Swedish Prime Minister Mr. Ulf Kristersson, launched the second version of LEAD IT in 2023. And this has been very successful as well. So we now have almost 50 members, including 18 countries. And we are looking at further expanding this membership, further getting more projects under the LEAD IT initiative, and launching a new version of LEAD IT.
India's ambassador to Sweden also spoke about the cultural similarities between India and Sweden, saying both countries follow balanced lifestyle practices and share the idea of middle path in everyday life.
There are some tradition in Sweden that reminds me a lot about some of those practices in India. One is the word lagom. So lagom is what in India you will call madhyamargiya. You should never have any excesses, whether it is for eating, never eat too much, never eat too little. Never work too hard, never work too less, and that extends to home also. So you should never clutter your house too much, and you should have only what is required, I think. And this is, I think, something that is also the requirement of today's times, you know, where you should have only what you want. So this is a very deep philosophy, not just a lifestyle. And the more you get into lagom, the more you realize how much, how spiritual it is as much as physical. This is something that in India also we are madhyamargiya. So even in whether it is physical needs or whether it is spiritual, a normal person should always follow a middle path. This is what Buddha said. And also, I think it's also striking that Honorable Prime Minister's own initiative, Life, is also based on this Madhyamargiya principle, right? You should only have what you want, recycle what you can. And so this is one concept that is very similar to both countries. The other one is fika. In India, I remember that we used to have a tea break, chai pe chalte hain, chai pe charcha, as you said. Here we have fika, so mostly Swedish drink coffee. So this is like a coffee break, but unlike any coffee break, because fika is a concept where it is deeply rooted in their tradition. Anybody can come and have fika with anybody in office. There are no hierarchies. CEOs can take it with the managers. The idea is twofold. One is to have a free-flowing conversations among people, and secondly to break the hierarchy and make it as flat as possible. And I think fika serves both purposes.
So, Ambassador Gurjeet, I'm sure you heard that conversation, and very interesting bit towards the end. We'll talk about the first part of Ambassador's interventions later, but first your take on the similar denominators, the cultural similarities from their fika to our chai pe charcha, and the middle path vision, etc. Your take. Are we so similar in terms of cultural roots, behaviors, and... yeah.
I was in Stockholm when Ambassador Bhushan had just arrived.
Okay.
So within a year, he seems to have understood the Swedish culture very well.
Yes.
That he is able to point out these very vast similarities, which to not a frequent visitor like me are not so evident. And I have, to be honest, never heard these from anybody who has been to Sweden. So I must compliment him that he has thought this out, especially the middle path and the tea and other. These are all nuanced commonalities which make life so much easier when you are working together. So I compliment him on this. I have no comment on that except to say, him on able to pull this out.
Okay. Now, talking about the business component of it, explain to us how this is going to further consolidate India, Sweden, not only India-Sweden partnership, but India's robust partnership with Nordic.
So, Ambassador Bhushan mentioned the lead IT. It is the lead industrial transition process which India and Sweden signed during COP28, I think, for the climate change. Now, what we have to understand is that Sweden is almost 95% energy is fossil-free, nothing from fossil fuels. 40% of Swedish power comes from hydro, and 30% comes from its 6 nuclear plants. And then it gets about 25% from wind power, about 4 to 5% from biomass and waste, and hardly 1% from solar, because Sweden is far north and doesn't have so much sunshine. But in this, what I have told you, there is no coal or there is no petroleum. So Sweden is trying to move to 100% fossil-free energy mix. Now, look at it in India. If you leave coal aside, if we would increase our hydro, nuclear, solar, wind, and reduce dependence on oil, you see how much more we are strategic autonomy. That is what Sweden has done. They are not dependent on energy imports on anybody, not even their neighbors.
Okay.
They produce everything themselves.
Okay.
That I think is very important as
Yes.
part of the lead IT. And that is where I think we need to work closely with Sweden to understand these, it's not only renewables, but non-fossil fuel transfers of energy and building up a matrix like that.
Okay. Yes, that matrix, and With that, let's also briefly touch upon the defense matrix that's already existing between the two nations. Ambassador Gurjeet, just let's take a look at this report. I'm coming to you, sir. I'm coming to you, sir. But let's just first quickly dip in this report. Now, the defense partnership is a cornerstone of India-Sweden partnership. We will discuss this aspect with Ambassador also. As Prime Minister Modi visits Gothenburg during his Europe visit, a world-class Swedish defense manufacturing facility is coming up in Jhajjar in Haryana. Here's more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Gothenburg in Sweden from 17th to 18th of May. Defence and security cooperation forms a vital pillar of the strategic partnership between India and Sweden. Sweden's defence industry is a major global player, renowned for its technological innovation. Saab is a world-leading Swedish aerospace and defence company that has made significant investments in India. Saab is the first global defense company to secure approval for 100% foreign direct investment for manufacturing in India. In 2024, Saab performed the groundbreaking for the manufacturing facility for the shoulder-launched weapon system Carl Gustaf in India. The facility, run by the new company Saab FFVO India, is under construction in Jhajjar, Haryana.
Today, when we do the groundbreaking and thereby really embark on this new journey, interesting, challenging, we demonstrate our commitment as Saab to India, to make in India, to self-reliant India, and that we want to be a part of India going forward.
This will be the first Carl Gustaf manufacturing facility outside of Sweden. The Indian Army has been operating the Carl Gustaf since the 1970s. The facility will not just manufacture Carl Gustaf M4 for the Indian Armed Forces, but also components for exports to customers of the system around the world, helping establish India as a global hub for defense industry. Shubhendu Ghosh's report for DD India.
Ambassador Singh, your take on this. I don't think many people would have known about this, the Carl Gustaf Saab manufacturing unit. Okay, we are getting some visuals of on your screen. You can see the Swedish fighter jets called Gripen jets escorting Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's plane as he enters the Sweden airs or the Swedish airs. Swedish Gripen fighter jets escorting Prime Minister Modi's plane as he enters the Swedish space. And as we stay with these visuals, Ambassador Singh, now important visit as far as security concerns are concerned, but what do you think of the gesture displayed by the Swedish ruling dispensation? Their jets escorting Prime Minister Modi's plane as he enters their airspace. Our plane enters their airspace.
It's a very important gesture. It is like a military salute to a visiting friendly leader. Essentially that. So I think we should really appreciate it. It is also a manifestation of Sweden's strength in aircraft manufacturing in the defense sector. I think they're doing that they also make excellent fighter planes, which are then exported. You may recall that in the 1980s, when India was trying to ultimately bought the Jaguars, the Sweden companies were very important contenders.
I think the similar gesture was, we may recall, displayed by the UAE dispensation as well, when our plane, when it entered their airspace. Humongous respect for Prime Minister Modi and their gesture to acknowledge that.
Very much so. And this, I think, is becoming more common with Prime Minister Modi in more countries.
So basically, escorting our aircraft in skies as Prime Minister Modi touches down in a while from now. And as we say these visuals, if you could also just share your thoughts on the Saab manufacturing facility in India's Jhajjar. I mean, I think that speaks volumes of our defense cooperation, the kind of defense cooperation that that is already in place with Sweden. I think that's huge.
There was whole idea of India could buy Japanese, I mean, Swedish fighters in the 1980s didn't happen. We did buy the Bofors gun, if you recall, but that became mired in controversy. But the Bofors gun was a good gun, and now we make it in India. So I think the quality of Swedish defense equipment is well established. And the Carl Gustav rocket launchers, which are shoulder fired, have been used by the Indian Army for some years, and their efficacy is established. Therefore, the Indian Army would be a good customer for the facility to be established in Jhajjar, and hence I believe that the Swedish have decided to invest in India, and they will, I think, develop future models out of India, because the Indian military will remain a consistent market and buyer for them. So therefore, I think this is a very good step. And particularly, as your report said, this is the first country to take advantage of India's 100% FDI in the defense sector. I think very welcome. Again, when you look at Sweden, we talk about green, energy, innovation. The last thing you expect is to have defense production with them.
Yes.
But they are good at it. So I think, as you rightly said.
If you could also, yes, since Ambassador Gurjeet, we have you with us on this broadcast, if you could also elaborate on the symbolism, optics and the larger messaging of Swedish dispensation deciding to send their, Gripen fighter jets to escort our Prime Minister's plane in the skies before touching down, there is a larger message there. Would you agree?
Yes, this is a sign of respect and friendship. It is also a sign of recognition of India as a power. And I think it is a recognition or trying to tell us that, see, this is our military prowess, and we would like you to be
display
aware
of their military prowess also to the world, because
Yes,
this visit
yes.
is widely watched not only by Europe but the East and the rest of the West as well.
So it is ceremonial, but then not every country does it.
Yeah, yes.
So therefore it is special ceremony. I mean, we ourselves don't do it for visiting heads of state, right? So I think with the Gripen escorting the PM's plane in, once you land there, the discussions will start focusing energy, innovation, and other things. But certainly, I think the defense engagement would neither be forgotten nor ignored.
Okay, so just to kind of understand the innovation bit and the defense apparatus, in that we're looking at more alignment and synergy. Do you think these two areas are going to take center stage?
I think innovation and a broader trade, technology, and investment relationship will take center stage. The defense will come as part of that, because we are looking at technology transfers and co-production and investment in India. So you have to see it as that package. It is not a strategic partnership that they are coming to train our defense forces or something like that. It is a production in India. So I think we should look that once the Carl Gustav is manufactured, can other ancillaries be also moved here for manufacturing? Can we increase the local content? Can we have JVs with Indian companies? And that way, this transfer of technology and co-production will have a lot of meaning. You could then work to next level of models by joint production in India through an R&D center, which Saab, I think Saab already has R&D center for other things, but they could also for defense matters. So I think it's a very important step for a big company like Saab, in manufacturing and technology, to bring Carl Gustav manufacturing to India. We need to get more investment in manufacturing, more tech transfers, and more R&D and innovation opportunities between Sweden and India, because that is what will create better capabilities in India and also generate more employment in India.
Okay. Ambassador Singh, please stay with us. And for the viewers who have just tuned to DD India on your screens, these are exclusive visuals of Swedish Gripen fighter jets escorting Prime Minister Narendra Modi's plane as it enters the Swedish airspace. Extremely symbolic and ceremonial. The message here, of course, as pointed out by Ambassador Singh as he continues to stay with us, is that of the kind of respect, honor accorded to our Prime Minister by the Swedish government as his plane prepares to touch down in Gothenburg. Now, this is very important because Ambassador Singh, you said we saw this in UAE and now here in Sweden. And like you just said, if you could just kind of put this in context, is this a very unusual SOP that normally nations follow? We don't get to see this very often. Or is it first of its kind? Yeah.
Normally done for strategic partners. So with UAE, it is clearly a strategic partnership. But here, I must say, it's a bit of a surprise, a welcome surprise.
Okay. Achha, you are surprised?
Of course, I'm surprised because this was not part of normal protocol. It did not happen in the Netherlands. And I don't know whether it will happen in Norway or Italy. The other thing, which has been happening consistently is the car diplomacy, where upon arrival, then Prime Minister travels with the host leader in his own car. But I have not seen it this time. In the past, it has happened a lot.
Okay.
So let's see whether on the other 3 visits now, he travels with the host in their car to the next venue.
Okay. So basically, these are Swedish Gripen fighter jets. It's a single-engine supersonic multi-role fighter aircraft which is manufactured by the Swedish Aerospace and Defense Company. And yes, the Swedish company is what we are talking about, Saab. So there's another Saab connect to it, sir, as we stay with this visual. The Gripen has a delta wing and configuration. We'll not get into the technicalities of it, but yes, the message here is loud and clear that this is how the Swedish government is welcoming India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi as his plane enters their airspace. Their Gripen fighter jets escort Prime Minister Modi's plane, and we are standing by for the arrival visuals. As we also saw the diaspora lineup, if you could just a bit comment on that as well. Besides the deliverables and the diplomatics, it is also the diaspora which also makes it to the headlines anywhere and everywhere where Prime Minister Modi goes. Ambassador Singh.
Indeed, diaspora has received far greater attention in the last decade or so. Their numbers have also substantially increased in European countries. So what you see is a manifestation of their love for India and its leadership. Plus, you also see India recognizing their presence more. So their cultural activity, their religious activity, their economic activity is all recognized by India, and Prime Minister invariably addresses them. One is informal, when he arrives, he will meet them at the arrival point. Secondly, there are structured meetings, like in the Netherlands, you saw huge meeting where he makes very important statements. So I think this brings the diaspora into direct connect with India's leadership, and this builds a great element of warmth in them towards India. And they all feel that they are now representing India and therefore should do more to promote Indian relationship with the country that they are living in.
Not Stockholm, but Gothenburg is the chosen destination for Prime Minister Modi this time after his 2018 visit. Ambassador Gurjeet, could you please explain why could this be the reason? Why Gothenburg?
This is because of the European Industry Roundtable.
Okay.
I told you that CEOs from the EU, from UK and EFTA are all gathering there. So this is essentially to be there where all the CEOs are there for the first time since the India-EU FTA was ratified and implemented. and now you will have a PM will have an uh, important opportunity to address leading European CEOs at one time. So I think a visit to Sweden was not due, because in any case, PM will meet the Swedish Prime Minister in Norway during the Nordic Summit. But I think a special effort has been made to come to this European Industry Roundtable because of the opportunity it affords. And besides the Swedish Prime Minister, Prime Minister Modi and the EU leader, one Ursula von der Leyen is coming.
Okay.
Also, how EU looks at India as a strategic business partner in the years ahead.
So this being the first after India-EU FTA, that's also a very important aspect where this visit will deepen the India-Sweden trade ties. And in fact, I've been told that we are getting some more visuals here on the screen, arrival visuals of Prime Minister Modi in Gothenburg, reaches Sweden. This is his third leg of five-nation tour. Red carpet welcome being accorded to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Sweden. Swedish Prime Minister on your screen, Ulf Kristersson, receiving Prime Minister Modi at the airport. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, has been accorded a guard of honor, which we just saw at the airport. They're accompanied by Prime Minister of Sweden. The visit definitely reflects the growing and the warming of ties, the depth of India-Swedish ties under the India-Sweden Innovation Partnership. And again, innovation here being the key word. And as we stay with these visuals, a quick one again from Ambassador Singh. So you have the Prime Minister of Sweden, Ulf Kristersson, receiving Prime Minister Modi, another gesture of respect and the way they want this relationship to be elevated to next level, displayed by the Swedish dispensation. Ambassador Singh, are you there with us?
Yes, I am also impressed that the Swedes are laying it on. I mean, the Prime Minister is personally there in Gothenburg. And, you know, this is not really a formal bilateral visit, but, you know, providing the Gripen fighter escort, coming to the airport personally. These are all special gestures showing that Sweden wants to have a warmer, deeper relationship with India. And I think this is the right signal to start a visit. And I'm sure that there will be productive outcomes out of Prime Minister's visit, showing that because Sweden is showing so much warmth, I'm sure that the visit will live up to these expectations.
Is innovation partnership going to basically take center stage when the two leadership talk and when the MOUs are inked?
I think the innovation partnership and its implementation, along with the lead IT, which I told you was on energy transition and industry transition, I think these will remain the backbone. And beyond, and under them, various business and entrepreneurial and technology partnerships will emerge under these broader frameworks that have been built up through Lead IT and through the innovation part.
Yes, so on your screens, again, let's quickly, before I take final remarks from Ambassador Singh, Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, arriving at Gothenburg in Sweden, where you can see on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, Prime Minister of Sweden, Ulf Kristersson, receiving our Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He's being accorded red carpet welcome along with the Guard of Honor. And prior to that, we also saw in a special gesture, Swedish Gripen fighter jets also escorted the plane in which, India's plane in which Prime Minister Modi was travelling before, the moment the plane entered the Swedish skies. Your final comments, sir, as we stay with these visuals. So overall, how important is this visit of Prime Minister Modi for Sweden the other way around? What are they expecting, the outcomes from India?
You know, for Sweden, this visit was like a stopgap Sunday visit. It is not a formal bilateral visit. It is not to their capital. But instead of letting it go only as a business visit, they have put out the fighter escort. They have brought the Prime Minister to the airport. They are putting a lot of warmth into this relationship. And that, I think, is their expectation, that now that you have the India-EU FTA, they want more opportunities for companies in India, and they want to have a closer partnership with India in the economic, innovation, technology, and energy space. And I think we should watch this space for the results of this visit, which is short, but I believe it will be
impactful. In terms of India's engagement with the EU rubric, sir, if you could also talk about that. Now we know that the kind of respect and honor that is accorded to this particular visit of Prime Minister Modi, not that earlier visits were devoid of it, but then the many firsts that are attached to it, including the Prime Minister himself receiving Prime Minister Modi, and of course their fighter jets accompanying our plane, escorting our plane.
So if you look EU, since it was tied to the Netherlands, you know, it was a very fulsome visit, full of outcomes.
Yes.
And I think it showed that the India-EU FTA and the India-EU diversified partnership and strategic roadmap are now being understood by the member countries of the EU, and the Netherlands visit was a clear example of that. Now, the Nordic countries are dealing with India not only as EU, I think all of them are not EU, but as Nordics, they have their own preferences. But on the way back, Prime Minister will stop in Italy, another EU country.
Correct.
With whom we will now see what to happen. So I think the India-EU warmth is now permeating the relationship with individual countries to a larger degree than before, because of the framework that has been put into place.
Yes. And on that note, thank you very much, Ambassador Singh. It was always, as always, a pleasure having you on the broadcast, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for putting this in perspective, why this is important for Sweden and India, and what does it mean as far as India's stature or growing stature in the EU scheme of things is concerned. Thank you for joining us. And well, I'm going to take a short break here, but our special program, India-Sweden Partners in Innovation, continues. We continue to track Prime Minister Modi's Sweden visit. Stay with us, a short breather. On the other side, my colleague Ramesh Ramachandran will join you. So don't go away. Namaskar.